Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. I hope you have had a fabulous weekend. We are back here for Doing It Scared with a new project that I'm going to put together for you. So if you haven't been here before, I call it Doing It Scared because what I'm filming is a first time try of some sort of artwork. Now, this one isn't necessarily like first time. I'm putting together some different techniques that I've used in the past and just to come up with something different. And it's going to involve acrylic paints, watercolor, paper, a lot of fun stuff. And I think this is something that's super easy that anybody can do. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start by sharing with you the products that we're going to be using. So it is going to take multiple products. First, we're going to start with watercolors. So I have this beautiful watercolor palette. This was probably like $6-7 on Amazon, and I bought like 5 of these because I use them for my workshops, and I have to tell you, I'm really happy with the pigments in this. Okay, the next thing will be watercolor paper, which you'll see in a moment. The other thing that we will be using besides acrylic paint, and I have no idea what colors yet, so are these 4x4 canvases. You can see that I have a tracing on there. This is a canvas that I had created for my holiday parties, okay? So like I had several different designs pre-traced, and they can make an ornament or they can make a little Christmas scene, and they're really cute because they stand, because see how wide they are, they can stand on their own. Well, today I want to make sure, as usual, I try to keep my costs down. So I'm going to reuse these canvases because at best they're not even going to be needed till next December, and if I do this again, I'll just buy new ones. Okay. All right. So we have that. Now, I'm going to put the camera around and show you what work I've already done, and then we're going to show you how to start this project, okay? So give me a minute here. And there we go. Okay, so you should all see here, I have my 3 canvases, so I'm going to be doing 3 projects. These are the petals. So this is going to be a floral project. These are the petals that I created. All of these are watercolors. You can see that I've separated them by different colors, and then I have a stack of what I call leaves right here. Okay, so we're going to move this to the side because the first thing I'm going to show you is how I made these. I won't be cutting them out today. I'm going to be making more, but I want to show you, it's a super easy technique to get these beautiful shades. And let me move this over here. So as you see, as I'm picking these up, this is a general piece of watercolor paper. This is just washi tape. I like to frame it when I'm working. So to make these petals, literally all you need is a sheet of paper, and you need to choose what colors you're going to do. So typically I use 2 colors. Hold on, let me get it open. There we go. Typically I'm going to use 2 colors to make a petal. And they're going to be close to each other on the palette. The other way, I'll show you 2 ways, because you can also do it with using 1 color and just enhancing the depth of the color. So let's start with, I want to show you both techniques. So we're going to start with using, just making the basic petal itself. So wetting my brush, this is just a typical medium brush. I'm going to, I really like the pinks here. So we're going to use, I'm going to go ahead and pull this over so you guys can see which I'm using, right? So I'm going to use these 2 pinks here. If you want to know what color they are, just take a little dab, and you can see right there. And then I'll take a little dab of the other one because I want to see how they work together. So you can see they're a little bit different in shade, and this is going to be perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use the lighter color, which I believe is this one. I put plenty of paint on there. And how I'm going to do this is I'm just, look at that, how pretty that is. Going to make basically two swipes. Okay, so this is your base color when we're going to use the same color. So we're going to be doing 2 rows, because one row is going to use the same color to create the shading, and the other row we're going to use that other color. So you can see it's very simple. You can also see some shading, so if that naturally occurs. So you can use this no problem if that's your preference. Now let's do one more row. Typically, it sounds crazy, but I like to do this part because it's so repetitive just at night when I'm watching TV. I can put out a whole sheet fairly quickly and then let it dry. Okay, that had a little bit more than I wanted in there, but all right. So you can see over here on this side that some of that water has already started to absorb. So what I'm going to do is use the same color on this one. And so we're still using this same pot. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's wet. And all I'm doing is I'm taking one brush stroke on one side. So just like this, I chose the side that was naturally already darker. Usually your first swipe. And there you go. So that's using just that one color. So if you only have one watercolor, you can do it. Now on this one, I'm going to use that next color, okay? This is a new color, so I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I get all that old color out of my brush. I'm gonna go ahead and start here. That's got a little bit too much water. I'm gonna take a little bit of it up because we don't want it too watered down. Okay, so that's maybe just a tiny bit. Okay. Now on this one, I'm gonna do the opposite petal. And I'm gonna do the side. So you can see it looks very similar, but these are actually 2 different colors. On these bottom ones, you can see the color differentiation a little bit better. All of the petals I did today have 2 colors involved. So they're all done like this row here. Okay, and we'll go over those in a minute. Now, one thing I do like to do is when I'm making these sheets, I don't like to leave anything white because as you cut things out, I don't want those white edges. So you can see here that my outside edges are a little bit of this light pink. That was my background color. So I'm gonna pick a coordinating color and I'm gonna go ahead and do, or sometimes there's a different color, and I'm going to go ahead and do backgrounds. For this one, I'm going to do a light blue, and there is no rhyme or reason for this. I just literally take this light blue color and I go and I fill in around. I typically do this part once I've done a whole page, so most everything is not going to feather like that. And it's not, again, no rhyme or reason. It's just to add this color in there so when I touch the, cut them out, they have some tones and highlights. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish this row. And I'm not worried about keeping a consistent, what do you call it? Consistent base, like with this. Like some of these, as you can tell, like this one didn't have much water on it. It's a little brighter. More water is going to make it a little bit more like a wash effect, which I just let it do what it wants to do. And then so on, okay? So we're gonna let this dry. Now what I typically do, like I said, I do these at night in bed quite a bit, and then I let them dry overnight. So we're gonna go ahead and get rid of the watercolors. I'm going to move this out of the way. Remind me, I'll come back to that. If anybody is here watching, please just leave me a little note in the discussion. I love all of your comments. As you can tell now, I've been doing a lot with gold foil. More of that will be coming soon. So what I need to do first, I got 3 of these blocks, and this can be sold as a set or possibly individually. It doesn't matter. I kind of have an idea here of what I'm going to do. So I'm going to remove the petals at this time. And I'm going to paint a base with the canvas for each one. Now I've picked out some colors. We'll try using them. I didn't show you each. I'll show them to you as I use them, but remember, you can use whatever you need. I'm going to be using my large brush because we're going to be actually covering quite a bit of area. Now, because I'm doing the whole canvas, I have a paint palette, but I'm not really necessarily going to use it. I'm just going to be squeezing paint onto the canvas, okay? And I don't think I'm going to have these as just super solid. Once I get around to the sides, I'm going to do the sides, and then I'm going to add a little bit of a bright pink. Always do the sides, that way you can just stand your piece up. You don't even have to put a hole in the wall. Sorry, I pulled it off where you can't see it. Need just a little more. I'm going to put it on top so that I can just pick up, bring it around the sides. So this is Coral Blush. It is a deco art color, but you can use whatever you have. Again, it's all just whatever you like. Now, I don't know if you can see this. If not, you will shortly. You can still see the lines from this tracing, and that's why I am using this for a mixed media thing. I do want to add a pop of color, so I'm going to add a little bit of this bright pink. I'm not going to worry about the sides so much, and I'm just going to do some rough blending because I want the different colors to show. Okay, and I like that, so that one is done. Now I need to go to the next one. So obviously I'm going to wipe off my brush from excess paint, give it a good rinse, and move on to the next one. Part of me wants to use this color combination for the whole thing, but it won't work because I've got some nice bright yellow here. So with the yellows, I'm going to be using, I have a light green color and then possibly some citrus and then this light pink. So we'll see. We're going to start off with the medium green. Real art in real time, mistakes and all. So far, liking this. I think this will look good with the yellow petals. Look at, I'm even pulling some coral in there because it's left in my brush, and I'm totally, totally okay with that. For time's sake, I'm going to be doing the sides of these when we're done. I've already showed you that we do utilize them. But I want to be able to show as much of the process of this as possible. So I am going to add, we're going to do a little of this baby blush, which is the latest pink color. And I'll be doing this while it's wet because that's what's going to give us the streaks. And let's do just a tiny bit of the citrus in there. And let's start putting, oh yeah, like it. I think that's a pretty blend for those yellow flowers. And I'm going to leave it just like that. See. So you see these are going to look nice on there. All right, now we have the last one. This is going to be for the light pink petals. Or actually, I may change it. We'll see. This is one of those things. I was thinking of this for this, but it blends in a little bit too much. So I might be doing the light pink. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to do 3 different bases. So I'm going to start on this one with this Poetic Plum. That's the base. This is a deep purple. And you can see this one, because of the deep texture, it's not completely opaque. Again, with this project, I'm okay with that. If I wanted it opaque, I would let it dry and do a second coat. All right, so let's do some bright pink. This one is Fuchsia Pop. I put a little too much there. And then I'm going to do a little bit of Cotton Candy. This is a little bit darker than the pink we used on the greens. All right, wipe my brush off, rinse. Somebody asked me at my last workshop, which was Saturday, they're like, how do you learn? Do you take classes? I don't, guys. If I were younger, who knows, I took a few art classes in college, but everything I do, I just try it. And that's why it's called Doing It Scared. Okay, so this is kind of looking pretty too, although I will be honest, I want a little bit more of that dark purple. So I'm going to put a little bit more of that on top to get more of that color in there. Yeah, see, it's just a little bit darker there. Now in this one, I have paint rolling down the side. I'm going to smooth that out. Like I said, later, I'm going to do all of these sides and move on from there. So the next step, okay, we're going to start to let this dry. The next step that I would do is when our watercolor is dry, put that in there. You can see, I'm going to put this right next to it. You can see that I have lines. Okay, so this is a Posco pen. It's just a fine tip marker, and I just go in and I outline basically. I'm not going to show you on this because it's wet. If I use my markers on a wet surface, it's going to kill them and clog them, and they're not going to work properly. So that's why I say I let these dry overnight. Typically the next night, because I'm up here painting, I will add those lines and then I start cutting them out. Okay, so I just wanted to give you that heads up with that. You can use black lines. You guys know me. I love to outline things in black, but you can also, if you have a gel pen, I've done some outlining with a white gel pen. That can be pretty as well. And who knows, we might get some of that on here. Depending upon which way this all goes. Now I need to think about how I want my blooms. And now that I've seen all these colors, let's see, I don't like this coral with that purple. So, anyway, yeah, I'm going to stick with the colors that I had, and a little piece of gold flake went in there. Oh, we got it all. Anyway, I usually don't care. I love to do some glittery accents. The last time I did this, I used some rhinestones. I don't know that I'm going to do that today. Again, a lot of the times I just wing it and just try it. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, a few of you have been here before when it didn't work out. And I got done and I said, okay, that stinks. So that's just how it goes. So I'm going to start by creating a center on each one of these. And I'm going to do that with the coordinating color. So I am going to put some on my palette. So this is my palette, y'all. So you can see I just use a paper plate. This is what I use at my workshops too. At my workshops, I throw it away. But here it dries overnight and I just use it again because I can be cheap that way. So I'm going to choose some colors, and I kind of put it like where I've already had that color. So that's going to be the center for that one. And then I'm going to use the medium green for the center of the other, and the purple for the center. So it looks like I've kind of decided that I'm using the darker tones to make a center. I was going to use my brush, but I just changed my mind. I'm going to use a dotting tool. So this is a dotting tool, different sizes. For this, when I dot, I'm going to be rotating. So I'm going to start. Notice I got a good bit of paint on there, and I'm going to just roll it just like that. And then let's just fill in. All right, doesn't have to be perfect. Just wipe it off and move on to the next one. Picked up some gold there. So there we go. And last is this deep purple. So you're going to see that this comes together pretty quickly. And in fact, I'm going to do it a little different with you guys, because typically I'd let this dry and then I'd come back and do the petals. So this is a multi-step process, but we're going to go ahead and show you how I do the petals on this. So I start with literally just placing petals around the dot. Now, chances are you're not even going to see that dot, but that's my guide, and then I will probably clean it up afterwards. Now, this paint right here is dry. You're not going to stick it into the paint. You're going to have to glue it. So you can use a glue like Mod Podge. I have this multi-purpose Elmer's glue. Notice this is not school glue. It's for household projects, household repairs projects and more. So it has a little bit more grip than a school glue. So this is what I typically would recommend. I'm going to start, I'll show you. I'm just going to do a small, okay, get it started. I'm going to do a small ring right around the center dot, just like that. Okay, I'm not going to smear it or anything. I'm just going to leave it like that. And then I'm going to start putting my petals. Now, I just use my fingers. I've seen artists that do similar things, and they use tweezers. I'll be honest with y'all, I don't really care. Again, I'm layering these around. These are going to give kind of a daisy feel. And you can see how pretty everything goes together. So to make sure everything's sticking, I'm going to go ahead and just push a little bit to make sure it's within that glue. You can see the center there is still darker, right? So I will most likely be putting another row of petals next, but I will show that in a minute. We're going to go and put these on here, and I might do a different style for each one. We'll see. In fact, this one I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to start with a wider circle, so I can layer these a little bit different. Okay, so this is going to use my yellow petals, and instead of going straight to the center, I'm going to put them along the edge of the glue spot. On this, I'm not going to worry about anything overlapping, because when I do the next row, that's when we'll get the overlap. Now, when you're working with the glue, you have to be, take into account that this glue is going to take a while to dry. So again, like I said, this project isn't one that you sit down and you're done in an hour. It comes in stages. But I'm condensing a lot of these steps. Oh, I overlapped that. Okay, well, that one's okay. All right, so that's our basic set for that. And then let's make, these blooms are pretty good. So we're gonna do 3 different types. We're gonna make a really, really wide circle on this one. I mean, we are just having fun, right? And I'm gonna start, again, like I did with the yellow, but now you can see my petals are gonna be going off the what do you call it? The canvas. That means that I'm going to have to be a little careful down here, because if it goes off the canvas and I'm wanting it to sit on top, I need to be cognizant of that, which means my petals will be a little bit different, or I won't want them to hang off as much. So for this one, you're going to see it's going to come together. I've got some bigger petals and some smaller petals, so I'm looking for the wide ones. Now on this one right here, as we start getting down, notice I'm not going to push as much in there. This is the bottom, and what I can do when we get done, I can trim it if I need to, but this is my big bloom. So we have a small bloom, a medium bloom, and a big bloom. So now we're going to come back up to this gold, or the coral set. Now I'm going to individually place some petals. I'm not going to do a big ring, but I'm going to look at where exactly I want my petals to go, and I'm going to add some bulk. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like that sitting on top. So what I'm going to do, you can see there's glue on the back. I'm going to shove it in there. Nope, I don't like that either. So this is going to go back to here. I'm going to there we go. So change my method a little bit. It's quite all right. Like I said, this is doing it scared, so I figure it out as I go. But I do want some layered petals. So, because flowers aren't always just perfect and neat, you know? So we're going to be putting some more petals in there. And if anybody asks, how do you know how many petals to do? I don't. I just that's why I make full sheets of these petals, and I cut them out so I have plenty. And I just decide as I work around everything. Okay, and I should do one more here. Put that on that petal. All right. So there we got the coral petals. Now I am going to press a little bit. I just want to make sure that these are all sticking to the glue, because I don't want to pick it up later today and have the petals falling off. All right, so we got that one. Now I'm going to do the second row of petals on the yellow, and this time I am making a ring of glue. It's going a little bit on the petals, but this is going to work with putting just getting a fuller bloom. So notice these second ones that I'm putting on, they're coming in towards the center. I have no rhyme or reason, but I am kind of looking at size, and so I don't want it to be so small that you don't even notice it, but I also don't want everything to be exactly the same size. I don't know if you can tell I have a ton of petals, so I can do a lot of these. This is fun also, you know, if you're making gifts, this could be a fun little gift to give. Okay. All right, so that looks good. Now I'm going to do the pink. And I'm going to do a row right in here. I might do a third row, no promises. We're going to see how this comes together. Okay, and you see how this blue just kind of adds to the whole thing? Doesn't really pull away from the petals, but it actually enhances them. That's why I do some sort of background. And on this one, because I'm going to be doing a lot more blooms, we may use all of these petals. Okay, so I am going to do, because I don't need to glue any more petals on those, I'm going to do a second ring of glue here. And then these petals that I'm using next will come around to that center. And I'm going to try to find smaller ones, because as we know, we get closer to the center, the petals are usually smaller. But this is going to be a beautiful bloom, so maybe not going to hang this one on the edge because we have these overhangs, and I don't feel bad about it. I like the way that this is coming together. And there we go. All right, again, there's a lot for this to dry. However, I'm not going to leave this just like that. We have these greens. The greens are the leaves. You can also make a green flower. I'm going to get some of these yellows out of the way. You can make a green flower with them. I just do a whole, like I said, I just go through and make a bunch so that I have plenty. I'm not going to be using just many of these, but we are going to tuck some into the blooms. Now, sometimes we did make those decisions based on, as you can see right here, that black line bleeding through the canvas. So I'm going to put one on each of those. And with these, I am going to get my tip there, I'll pull down, but I'm going to just kind of smush because I want it to be framing the petals. We don't want it on top. Here is a little one. This one will go really well through there. And then I just look at where else I think I might want to add. This is a bigger leaf. I'm going to let this one come between that. And this one's good too. Except I'm going to have to do another one because it looks too much conformed. We're going to do two right there. So yes, you can do this. You can layer one on top of another. Remember, our flowers and such are not going to grow symmetrical. This needs a little bit more, so I'm going to put one here, and I'm going to do one right there. And you guys see our flower bloom is coming together. Actually, I'm going to do this tiny one. So yeah, we have to do this before those layers dry so we can tuck things in. Get the good placement there. All right, now let's add some to our yellow canvas, our yellow blooms. That didn't tuck under a whole lot, but I'm okay with that. This has got plenty of room to tuck a few petals under, or leaves under. So I'm going to do one going this way, the other one going that way. And I'm going to put one, I should do it there, but I'm going to do it over here. The reason being it's not going to show up as much over there. It's going to hang over the side, which I'm okay with, but I also want to be, there we go. Okay, so now we've got that one. Now we have this beautiful pink bloom. This isn't going to need too many, and with this one though, I'm going to actually be putting the glue on the back of the leaf because I'm going to be pushing things in, and I don't want to move the petals that I already have too quickly. These are actually some of my favorite things to do. I like how the petals come out and they look every single time. There we go. Okay, so I like that. All right, so we got those parts done. We have 20 minutes left, so we're not going to finish it, of course, because there's a lot of drying that has to go on, has to take place. So now my question is, what do I do for the inside bud? And typically I've used glitters. I'm going to try and paint in with my paintbrush. I'm going to see how it looks, and then I'll decide if I need to add something else. So we're going right over here. So this is something I haven't tried before, but I'm going to just paint on the petals that are glued. If I don't like it, then I will cover it with glitter or something. And I'm thinking I'm kind of liking this. Notice my frayed brush. Yeah, this brush I don't use for precise work anymore. It's been well loved, but this is a perfect reason why I keep it, because look at it, can do all these fun things. All right, so I'm not super crazy about it, but I am going to take a moment and let it dry, and we'll see if I need to do something else. Again, like I said, it's super easy to just add some glitter to that. And I'm actually going to add, let's see, I'm going to do a little coral. It's too, what do you call it? It's too one color. So I'm trying to pick up these colors from the canvas. So I'm gonna just go in with some of this fun coral. I'm going to dot. And I still think I'm going to either do some sparkle in there, but we'll see. I don't know exactly what's gonna happen with that. That's how a lot of my things are. All right, so this one is the yellow. can do the same thing here. And notice these that I've done 2 rows, the center becomes a little smaller and tighter. All right, let's get a little citrus in there. I had some buttons. I might even think about putting a, do a gold leaf button. There, yeah, I like that. All right, time for the big daddy, this super pink petal. I'm going to start with that dark purple. Now, I can definitely say I don't think this one feels like it's going to need a, like something stuck in the center. But this I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to need to do a little bit more with, because the petals here aren't as tight as they are in this one. And just for funsies, gonna pick up a little of this other pink. This is Wild Berry, it's one of my favorites. There. And then I'm going to do a little bit of cotton candy. So it's coming along. Yeah, see, I'm liking that. Nice and simple. Okay, so typically the thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to come back and take a look at everything. Of course, like I said, I'm going to do the sides of the canvases because I want them to look finished, but I just skipped it for you guys. And you may see other things pop up in here. So I'm trying to decide. I'm not sure that I'm going to feel like I need any rhinestones added to this. Excuse me, I had to get a drink real quick. And I don't know that, I don't know, just not sure. I'm going to do something I haven't done before. This is a little silicone oil. I'm going to see if I can dab some of that in there and what it might do to our centers. Let me... Silicone oil is used a lot in paint pouring. It creates cool effects. So we're just going to see if that happens here. Yeah, I'm not really expecting much. But if you use too much, then you oversaturate everything. And so anyway, this will be fun to see if anything actually develops from this. If you use too much, then everything gets super oily. And I think maybe I'm just going to do this one because it's a practice. I've just put a little bit more in there, so I'm trying to dab it into some of the areas where the paint is still wet. And we'll just kind of see how everything starts to mix. Of course, it's going to take a while. You can see the light pink is spreading out more because of the oil. I'm not going to do any others. I'm just going to let that one kind of see what happens. This is all part of doing it scared. Experimenting is so much fun. Let's see. Well, it is a quarter till, and honestly, right now these need to dry. Now, some other options that sometimes I do will be like maybe adding like some quotes or something. I don't think I'm going to do that with these, but that would be kind of like this. Some people grin and bear it, others smile and change it. So if I wanted to add a sentiment to that, it'd be very easy to do. If you want it to have somebody's name, you can do that as well. Like I said, I'm not worrying about that right now. There are other things that we could add, like I said, glitter. I just am really kind of liking the simplicity of these. The only thing will be is maybe where these petals come into here, I might need to do something or come back later and push these down a little more, but I don't think so. I might actually, with how this looks, I like this one. I may actually create a watercolor circle with those colors and let it dry and put that in the center. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to switch the camera back around because I really don't have a next step as of right now. So give me a minute. Wow, I turned around and I see I have some people watching. Mario, Dawn, Linda, thank you guys so much for joining. Okay, tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me what you might like to see more of. Because I'm willing to try just about all of it as long as I can do it in the studio. So this ended a little early because there's really no place else we can go. So I want to thank you for being here. Check my website, www.passport-creative.com. You'll be able to find all of my upcoming workshops as well as some of my original artwork. Some of my original artwork now is available at Artisan Haven in downtown Brooksville, so go check it out. Buy a gift, and I'll be back here next Wednesday at 11 a.m. doing it scared with all of you. Y'all have a wonderful week and create something for fun. Bye-bye.